podcast. So.
Did it go through yet? No, it's still downloading.
Out, yeah. Well, we're streaming and it should be public. I should turn on my phone and see if we're there. I need to get the address. That's the problem. So I can put the address in Facebook. So YouTube, Radio Free Pangea, and then your channel. Okay, live. Okay, that's good, but how do I get the link? Share on copy link. Okay, so I copied the link. So I guess now I have to put the link in on Facebook, and on Facebook I have to put the event. All right, I need to edit this event. Live video, 1 hour. So online with Facebook, anybody can share link. Okay, let me, no, not the link copied. Oh, the wrong link got copied. All right, so I need to edit this. I need to edit that. Location is add your own link, external link. Now I need the clipboard.
My hair is like a mess from the wind.
Okay, so now I put the link in, and then so if we go now, it should save. And so let me see, anyone can share online YouTube BE, go to link. Oh my God, we're here.
Oh really?
Look at my phone. Look at my phone. Wait, look, can you see? Oh, look at my phone. That's us. And so let me see, anyone can share. Can you see? Go to your phone. Get your cell phone. We can hear us on
cell
Facebook.
phone. I'm trying to get my hair in a ponytail because it looks like I was electrocuted.
Look at my phone. Look at my phone. Wait, I can't. Can you see? Oh, look at my phone. That's us. Oh, can you see this? There we are. There's you. There's me.
So now what do I go to on my phone?
You go to Radio Free Pangea. Something's working.
To YouTube, right?
Yeah. No, go to the event on Radio Free Pangea.
Yeah, but how do I just
Go
Google
to
radio?
no. Go to Facebook.
Okay, Facebook.
Yeah, because I put it on through Facebook. We can do this as a Facebook link to make it easier for people and get them to join the page. But it's really broadcasting from YouTube. So go to Pangea and click on event.
Hold on, I'm trying to get Pangea in.
Yeah.
Oh, what? My stupid phone.
Okay,
Wait,
so
I need my glasses. I can't do this without my glasses.
Okay. Filters.
It comes up as a music video.
It should. You go to event and you just there's a blue button there that says click link. Yeah, you have to go to my event. You have to go to Radio Free Pangea page.
Yeah, that's where I was.
Well, you just go to Radio Free Pangea. Like I'll click off of this. See, it goes current events and voting. See, oops. And then it says go to link.
I can't see anything.
Oh, right, because the camera's not in there. If you go to current events, all right, let me share my desktop.
Hold on. My phone is all fucked up now, and I can't get back.
All right, because you just hit it just says if you go to event.
Okay, now I'm on Radio Free Pangea.
Right, and you go to a current event.
Forever. Okay, now events.
And then you hit go to link.
Current events and voting.
And then you hit go to link.
Okay, got it.
And now you'll see is on there too. And then
me glued to my phone. You go to event. Okay, now I'm on radio.
All right, so now the other thing is I forgot how we've got time for a few minutes. Now we're here, right? Let's make sure everything else is working.
Hold on. I'm listening to this is like talking over ourselves.
Well, of course. We're not going to leave it on. I'm just going to leave it on mute so I can see how it looks in case something screws up.
Oh, okay. Yeah, because it's like I couldn't hear you and I couldn't understand that.
Yeah, I'm just leaving it on really small so we can, if something screws up, this is what people are seeing. So now the thing is I learned in my video thing yesterday how to so you're there anyways, and then the podcast I have to all right, we're not on share screen. Now I have to open one of the other things and just I can see that makes it smaller, but I wanted to make it bigger and cut me out. Like, you know what I mean? There's a way, I found a way to chop some, to window capture, filters, window, and it's saying zoom, and then it says filter. Oh, is it under properties? One of them lets it. There's a way. I found a way to. Yeah, Lisa doesn't know what she's doing. Well, we're here. I just want to get the other page up so that everything's up. So I accidentally closed.
15 minutes.
Yeah. So if I put you on here for now. Oh, okay. I have to leave you up. I see, because it sees the window. So where did I do with you? Okay. So put you back. There you are. I'm the one running the fucking thing. I'm like, what the hell? Alright, so, well, you can go do something for a few minutes. I'm just going to look up the thing that tells me how to, cut something. I'm going to see if I can crop me out.
Run to the bathroom.
Yeah, go run to the bathroom and get something to drink, and I'm going to bring up my production thing. If you're listening, we're not really on yet. It's just we got things working, so we're just not going to shut them off. Hey, we're musicians doing newsworthy stuff, so that's good enough. We're not technical, unless it comes to amps, but when you have amps, you just turn them all up, it's very straight ahead. So if you...
11.
Huh? Up to 11, yes. Or the new Spinal Tap, we will make it 12. But so, we're, if you're listening in, yes, you're in the right spot. I did the lesson for finding out how to put in an intro, but I can't find the text button anymore. So as long as we get it working, what does tools do? Captions, experimental. Okay, so that means they don't really work yet. So I'm just leaving this on. If you're joining, yeah, this is where the podcast is going to be. I gotta look quick on my lesson to see how to, but let me bring this up first. Okay, cool. So bring these down so we have it all. Wow, so that's pretty big. Okay, and that's a little behind. Alright, so that's cool. So people can actually see that and read it, and I can read it with them. And I just have to do it on this. And then when I'm on there, I can just go up on this. Oh, this is cool. So yeah, the Bill of Rights, I have to open all of them now. So I have to do the 9th Amendment. Is this the one I highlighted? Oops. How the 9th Amendment. Oh yeah, all right, cool, awesome. So we're getting set up for the podcast. There's row 1. This should be row 2. Where else am I? Bill of Rights. I think that's everybody. I have somewhere the poem about, not the poem, but the article from a Christian minister on Jesus is pro-choice, but I can't find it. But I don't think we'll get to it by the time we go through everything. So chat can be closed out. Now I'm all set to broadcast when we're ready to broadcast. All right, cool. So this will, let's see, is it still showing good on my cell phone? I'm so psyched. It's showing on the cell phone too. Ah, that's awesome. So we do have contact, and while we're waiting, I am going to actually go to YouTube and look at how to. Oh, that's awesome. So we do have contact. Oh, that's so fun. We're live, even though we're not really here yet. I need to go to my my help. I don't know where it went. Where's my history? So we will be here officially if you're checking in at 7 o'clock. I'm just fiddling around with the video stuff. Oh, Justin Brown. Here we go. This guy is great, by the way.
We're going to cover how to use OBS Studio step by step. Hey, it's Justin Brown here from Primal Video, where we help you grow.
He's really good. Now I know he has somewhere in here I can cut.
Or we can double click on OBS. Or if we come across to filters, this is where we can get further advanced controls and change up the look and feel of our shots and of our audio for each of those elements. So at the top here we've got our audio filters. It says audio video filters.
Wait, where do you have this?
Audio side of our audio inputs.
So if I go to filters,
on this, we can add
I only have effect filters. I don't have audio and video. That's what the problem is.
To adjust the volume and video delay. So if your audio is out of sync with the video, then you can come in here and you can adjust the delay of that as well.
Oh, so I don't have audio and video.
Filter effects in here as well. So if we press the plus here, this is where we can apply a LUT or a lookup table.
Where the hell is this guy? Alright, where did you go to effects? Hold on a minute. Like I said, if you're checking in, the podcast is starting shortly, but I'm still trying to figure out. I'm supposed to be able to use filters on this. Now, if I put this, would this say filters? No, I only have effect filters. So tools. Where the hell did you go, Justin Brown? This guy's name is Brown too, but he's really good, but like, what the hell? We don't want to scale you down. I want to, where did you go?
Likewise, down the bottom here, we've got some
podcast is starting 7 p.m. I'm just going to keep saying that. I'm just screwing around here. Lookup table. Oh, wait. Oh, wait. So, what do we do? All right, so that's that. All right, so this is the next one.
Playback speed and some other advanced stuff as well. Those are the main ones. Let's go ahead and press OK. And you can see,
of course, he always has a video playing, and mine doesn't.
This is something we really quickly knocked out just using Place It. It is ridiculously easy. There is a link to Place It and a tutorial on how you can create your own amazing video animations and graphics and things to use in your live streams. You can find the link down below this video as well.
Alright, that's an ad for something else.
Inputs, whether they're audio, whether they're video inputs that you've added onto your scene here, you can actually customize them up further. So I've shown you the properties area, which we can again
wait, where's the properties area?
By either clicking properties, bring up this configuration menu, or we can double click on it to bring up the same one. Or if we come across to filters, this is where we can get further advanced controls and change up the look and feel of our shots.
I have effect filters, but not audio filters.
So at the top here we've got our audio filters. It says audio video filters.
Wait, I don't have effects
audio
filters.
Side of our audio inputs or our video inputs. So if we hit the plus on this, we can add in audio adjustment tools, things like compressor, expander, gain, adjust the volume, and video delay. So if your
crop and pad.
Video,
okay.
come in here and you can
So if I go here to filters, I don't know why I don't have an audio
likewise down the
one.
bottom here we've got some video filter effects as well. So if we press
But
that
I
plus
can
here, this is where
crop
we can
and
find
pad.
the
What is
table,
all right?
color grade. We can
Crop and
do
pad,
green
okay.
screen. So if you're sitting in front of a green screen, you want to remove
So I want to get rid of me in the bottom.
and you've also got color correction in
So
here as well.
I'm going to put 500 to see if I get rid of me. Okay. I'm actually getting good at this.
We can really dial in our shot. We can adjust the gamma to make it brighter,
Okay.
darker. We can adjust the contrast.
All right, so video podcast is starting in 6 minutes.
If we go back across here now and press the plus.
And
We've got
this is
cropping,
awesome.
Drop down our shots. We can mask
What do
out
I want to
areas
do
of our
right?
shots
How
as
about
well,
200
image
on the
mask.
right?
You've got other
Okay,
filters
left 200.
as well. I'm just going to close out of this and show you an example where we would use.
All right, so as soon as Sheila gets back, I think, I can't tell. This is Sheila's drum set, by the way. We're musicians, and we're trying to... Sorry, Justin Brown. Justin Brown's really great, by the way, if you're working on open broadcast streaming software. The only thing I realized I forgot is there's a thing that lets people do comments while we're talking. I might not be able to get it to work because it disappeared on me, and you'll have to forgive me, but you can always send in comments, and we in Facebook, just do comments on Facebook, and I will get those, and then I will figure this out later. I'm just happy to basically have this. Alright, so Sheila now is the top is, so I should make this the top 100. Would that make it better? Okay, so that looks pretty good. Let me do this at 385. Oh no, okay, so that still has to be 485. So as soon as Sheila comes in, we'll get her situated in, and then we'll be ready for the podcast. For anybody that's joining us, I don't have the side screen that works to let me know what's going on, so we're just going to wing it and make comments in Facebook. I will look at Facebook afterwards and, you know, answer. We're musicians. This is our first time, you know, we're trying to do podcasts, and as rock musicians, it's always been something to be like, you know, current events and things like that. Think about the late 60s, and, you know, of course that was peace, love, and understanding, and maybe a little bit CBD going on there and all that stuff, but we're really focused on trying to look at issues, get people voting, and it's nonpartisan. We don't care. We don't want to hear who, party, what, where, when, why. We don't care. We want to talk about the issues. Okay, so Sheila.
Yes.
Look what I did on your phone. I guess you'll see it. I figured out how to make it so it's just you in the picture.
Me? Why just me?
Well, no, me too, but I mean, I cut me, the fake me out. All right, so that looks pretty good. All right, so I'm going to just, I guess this saves automatically. So I found the crop button. So when you look in your phone in a minute, oh, see on your phone now how it's you and me, and I'm putting lip gloss on.
It shows the podcast.
Yeah, it is supposed to show the podcast. Just turn it low a bit. But see, now you're just you know what I mean? Like, instead of, So I'm gonna just, yes. This saves automatically, so I found the crop button. So when you look in your phone in a minute, oh, see on your phone now? All right, so just turn the volume down.
On which one?
Your cell phone. Your cell phone, because you're going to hear yourself. Isn't this fun? Now I got you like right next to me, and then we got all this paper stuff. And there means your cell phone, yes. Okay. Cool. So there's the two of us. I mean, if you want to see what the live podcast looks like, you got to just look on your cell phone. It's like a minute delay, though.
Right. I saw that.
So,
I heard it too.
all right. So I've got us. Well, that's pretty cool. I mean, we actually managed to put the two of us together. So we'll start in a couple of minutes. If there's anybody there, I can't see any notes. So, oh, I see something saying live chat on here. So people can put notes, I think. I don't know. That's if I want to put a note. So, because I have this on the cell phone. Oh, that's neat. Well, I've got this playing, so I'll start it in a couple of minutes.
I can't see it.
It's on your phone. You won't be able to see it unless you're on the phone.
Well, I have my phone, but I just see you and I and the document.
That's the podcast. That's it.
Right, but I can't see the bar, the taskbar on the bottom.
Because it's not Zoom. In other words, you're on the podcast via Zoom, and that's the podcast. You're not going to see a taskbar.
Oh, okay.
Right, you know what I'm saying? All right, I'll be right back in 1 sec. I have to go, and then we'll get started. What are you eating?
Oh my gosh, after all that time of it downloading, it says network disconnected.
Just forget it. We're going through this in the podcast, so it's a good test to see how I do as far as highlighting. You know what I mean? I'll be right back.
Trying another one and see if that one works.
All right, just tell people that we're starting in a minute.
We're going to start in a minute, folks. Still getting our P's and Q's together and our ducks in a row. Doesn't want to download.
Okay. Hello, Sheila.
I'm here.
All right, so hello, everybody. Welcome to our podcast. The official name is Present, Past, and Voting. The idea is to look at issues, look at their history, and relate to it how voting helped change laws, make laws. What could we have done as voters for laws that we don't like that got passed? And what can we do today with elections coming up? What would voting help? Like, how would voting help change these laws? Which, of course, the answer is, who are you voting for? And also, what levels are you voting? You know, because all the way down from the school committee, whether or not you have children, to up to the President of the United States, we vote these people in, and they make the laws. So, without further ado, my name's Lisa Ann, and below me, I'm gonna look below. Hey, Sheila, look up for a minute, like you're looking up, like the Brady Bunch. So, like, if I look down, right, am I looking down at you? And if you look up,
I can't see you because I'm looking at.
Oh, I know, but just pretend. Look like the weatherman with a green screen. Just look up for a minute, and I'll look down. Hi, and then wave.
Hi.
Oh, wait, I forgot to turn on the recording. Hold on a second. Oh, stop recording. Okay, I'm recording. Oh, we're recording. Oh, fuck, we recorded all this? Even the setup? I'm going to have to trim that. Anyway, so thank you for joining us in our podcast. And we're musicians, you know, but we're interested in current events and voting. And so we're starting this podcast. The rules and the regulations are there is zero tolerance for anybody stating what political party you're from or group or PAC or anything. We don't care if you're conservative, libertarian, Republican, Democrat, liberal, whatever. We're just all Americans here, and we just want to talk about the issues that we have. We don't want to get into mudslinging and whatever. That solves nothing. It's kind of like the philosophy, right, Sheila? You and I talked about
Absolutely.
When you're in the war, you don't stop and say, hey, wait a minute, do you have my back? What are you, a Republican or a Democrat? You know, no. It's like, you got my back, yes, and I got your back. So we're throwing out all the political parties and everything. But politics also means talking about government issues. So it's a non-political, political talk show. And I do apologize. We do not have the comment section going. I'm very new to this open broadcast streaming, which took us a couple weeks to get everything really going. And that thing disappeared, so we're just going to go with it. You can post comments in Facebook and I believe on YouTube, and we'll get to them throughout the week. And without further ado, Sheila, do you have any opening hellos to say or anything?
Hello, everybody.
All right, so here we are, the crazy musicians. So, first of all, what I want to talk about is we're going to talk about Roe versus Wade. And then the whole thing was, I put some quotes up where God is pro-choice, sperm have more rights than women do, and Anita Hill was right. So the idea was to get some attention for doing a podcast, and it certainly did. We had close to 400 comments, like 4,000 or 5,000 views on Facebook alone, and of course it opened up a whole can of worms. And so once again, when we do make comments, this is respectful. You know, anybody that swears and says nasty stuff, I'm just deleting them, because we really want to focus on the issues. You know, what about this issue? What can we do to make it work where the majority, at least, of the people in the country are happy? Because right now the majority of the country, 75%, were not for Roe being overturned. So that's a whole other issue for a different podcast as to, like, why aren't the people we elect representing us? So without further ado, we'll get into Roe versus Wade, and I'm kind of looking over at the papers here, and I gave Sheila some, but if not, Sheila, you got your phone, I guess, to look at it. And then I can help you sometime so you can see some of it on. So Roe versus Wade first started out in Texas. I'm trying to get the right. Oh, I have to do it in this one.
I'm trying to make a way for this to blow up, but I can't.
Right, I'm making it as big as possible. I don't know if you can on your screen if you can go over to YouTube. You should be able to see it on your computer screen. If you actually go to YouTube to Radio Free Pangea,
How do I move this Zoom box out of the way?
I think you can just minimize it on the corner.
Oh, I see.
Yeah, and then just go to, actually you can bring Facebook up and just see it there.
Oh, no, that's leave meeting. No. We don't want to do that.
No. What you can do is minimize it.
I'm trying. Hold
Okay.
on.
Well, I know, but we're live, so I got to keep going. So minimize it and go to Facebook on your computer laptop to Radio Free Pangea.
Oh, I can't. I can't get my Facebook on my laptop.
Okay, well, go to YouTube.
Just go to regular YouTube, right?
Yep, and this is for people as well. If people are trying to tune in and having problems with Facebook, we're just taking a minute here. Just go to
Radio Free Pangea.
Yep, Pangaea. So if you go to YouTube and in the search type in Radio Free Pangea, you'll come onto our site and it'll say live right on the top that it's live, and you just click on it if it doesn't start playing. And you can also subscribe to us, and then you'll always be...
I found us.
Good, you just have to turn it down a bit.
So if you go to YouTube and in the search...
Okay, so that's coming through the podcast, so your volume has to be turned down.
Right on the top, then it's live, and you just click on it.
All right.
And you can also subscribe to us.
You got to put that on mute. It's coming through the podcast.
Good.
Sheila. Sheila, put... Okay.
So that's coming through the podcast, so your volume has to be turned down.
Okay. Sheila, you need to turn your volume down on the web.
On the computer?
Yeah, because it's coming through the podcast while I'm trying to talk.
I'm sorry.
That's okay. Because you're part of the podcast, so...
Is that too low?
No, that's fine. Because you can hear me. You don't need the volume because you're part of the podcast. So that way they're just hearing me. So, okay. So going to Roe versus Wade, the original case actually was in 1970. As you can see here, Jane Roe was the plaintiff versus Henry Wade, who is the district attorney in Texas, versus James Hubert Halford, which was a medical doctor that wanted to intervene on behalf of the plaintiffs as a qualified medical opinion. And the whole basis of this was, I've got it highlighted here. The defendant in both cases is Henry Wade, the district attorney of Dallas County, Texas, and Jane Roe and James Herbert Halford. And they were talking about the fact that the Texas abortion laws, and you can read where I've highlighted it here, were vague and they didn't make a lot of sense. So for Roe to want to terminate her pregnancy, it wasn't clearly defined by the anti-abortion laws in Texas at that time whether or not she was committing a criminal act. And the doctor got on board because as a doctor he didn't want to be accused of murder if it was considered a criminal act. And then we have to take a minute and look back to when did abortion laws start. Pretty much they started in the Victorian era, and ironically it was a way to curb prostitution for wild women, you know. And the second big reason is there was really no medical technology that guaranteed a safe abortion, and so there was a lot of deaths. So over the course of that 100 years till we get into when this came up in the 70s, 1970s, a lot of states adopted anti-abortion laws, and they said initially these were for the benefit of women, that the anti-abortion laws were for the benefit of women because it would stop them from having a dangerous procedure. However, over time, the medical technology has been discovered and put in place to make it a safe and legal procedure if allowed by law. So that means overturning these antiquated anti-abortion laws, which really don't deal with anything about pro-life, pro-abortion, or anything that's going on today. They were about kind of saying, well, we're trying to keep you safe. And that's the problem with law, which is why it's important to, you don't have to be an expert, but just keeping up with current events and understanding what laws mean, because everybody's thinking, great, we're taking care of women, but all we did was suppress women with these laws in most of the states. And then, of course, a lot of states have overturned those, but it started with Roe versus Wade. And it started in the district courts of Texas. And as we go down here, like I said here, the doctors, the laws are so vague in Texas, he was afraid of what he was doing from a legal perspective was, allowed because of the vagueness. So the basic outcome of the 1970 Texas District Court hearing was that they agreed that the Texas laws were vague, so therefore they threw out the claim because they agreed that if the laws are vague, then there is no claim. So it was partially for Roe versus Wade. It opened the way for it to go to the Supreme Court because now there's justification to say there's no clear law here, we need something. And where do you look when you decide to jump to the Supreme Court? Well, they looked at the Ninth Amendment, which I'm going to bring up here. The rest of these are very interesting. Before I go to the Ninth Amendment, it tells the outcome completely, and I'm going to put these on the website for people who are interested in reading more. So single women and married persons, there was a Jane Doe and her husband and John Doe as well. They were a couple that were not pregnant, but they wanted to know they could have an abortion if they accidentally became pregnant, if birth control didn't work and what have you, because she had a medical condition and a hereditary defect that would not produce a viable pregnancy. So that was thrown out because it's basically she wasn't pregnant and not in a position where she wanted an abortion for a pregnancy that would not come to term. And once again, the findings, the vague Texas abortion laws couldn't be used to define what is considered a criminal act in an abortion case. The conclusion is the fundamental rights of single women and married persons to choose whether to have children is protected by the Ninth Amendment through the 14th Amendment. And the Texas abortion laws, being so vague, infringe upon this. And therefore they are void in their face because they are constitutionally overbroad. So they're too broad to be defined until they're brought up in the Supreme Court and defined and ratified into the Constitution. So you're probably wondering, okay, what's the Ninth Amendment? So the big case here was claiming the Ninth Amendment, these anti-abortion laws are not valid in Texas, but where are they going to be made valid? And it goes to the Constitution at that point. So I'm trying to see, I have to go on this page. That's right. So the Ninth Amendment simply says the enumeration of the Constitution of certain rights shall not be construed to deny or disparage others retained by the people. And what this means is any of the rights that are not listed in the Bill of Rights, which are the first 10 amendments of the Constitution, are therefore automatically, by default, private rights allowed by the citizens for the citizens, meaning privatization. And that's why you're hearing a lot today with Roe versus Wade being overthrown, that it's opening up a can of worms where now they're saying, really, the Ninth Amendment is being questioned, is what does that mean? It's very clear what it means, but everything's always open to interpretation. So now, after 1970, Roe was able to bring it up to the Supreme Court, and I'm going over to that. And excuse me, this is my first podcast, so I'll be better at this. You know, it's a lot to talk in front of people, and so here we are. So it came about to be heard by the Supreme Court in 1973. And it was Roe and the doctor was still with her at this point. And it was still against Wade, the district attorney of Dallas County. And the appeal from the United States District Court for the North District of Texas was to say that the Texas laws are typical of those that have been in effect for many states for approximately a century, like I was saying, and they're outdated, they're not clear. Their intentions when created weren't the same intentions that are needed at the time in 1971. The laws were too vague, and they didn't cover safe and legal abortion. They didn't cover the fact that the Ninth Amendment allowed this to be a privatization, meaning a personal decision between a couple, a single woman, and so forth. And what's really interesting, the Supreme Court specifically says our task, of course, is to resolve the issues by constitutional measurement, free of emotion and of predilection. That's a pretty important line, because when we look at today with Roe being overturned, it is definitely in violation of the will of the Supreme Court in 1973 that specifically stated that they are keeping their emotions and personal opinions and feelings out of it and going strictly by rule of law, using different case studies to substantiate their findings. And right now, the only thing that was clear for Texas was if they were attempting to have an abortion for the purpose of saving the life of the mother, which these days they've gone even beyond that to say that point of conception is a viable life, whether or not the mother was raped or is going to have a pregnancy that endangers her life, or a pregnancy that will not viable in the sense of coming to full term. So yes, I'm doing a lot of talking here, so excuse me again, this is my first time. This is more highlighted stuff that I'm going to leave on the website. So basically, because it was thrown out in Texas due to the very fact that the Texas laws were too vague to even be upheld against any case studies in the Constitution, she was not able to get a legal abortion in Texas because her life didn't appear to be threatened. And that's the only part that was clear. So the rest talks about what they plan to say in this action, which is they want to get clarification that based on the Ninth Amendment, which upholds the Bill of Rights, that it's a private decision and a woman is entitled to get an abortion in a safe and legal setting with a professional. The doctor, Halliford, still wanted to be a part of it as a licensed physician. He was tacking in his case that doctors need to be protected as well, since they're providing the service. But that part didn't fly. They focused on Roe versus Wade, which makes sense to me. I know the doctor had good intentions, but he was trying to ride in on the coattails of Roe versus Wade. In my opinion, I'm only interjecting my opinion there, so I probably shouldn't, but that's that. And then they talk, this is all about the history. If you did not read the 1970 case, you can actually read all about it in this case. So I'm going to stop for a minute to take a sip of coffee because I've been talking so much. And Sheila, why don't you key in here? What do you think about what I've been,
Well, I really think that what you've said is 100% correct.
Right. I'm giving the objective, like what I'm writing is just all the facts. I'm trying not to put my opinion in, and then now, like, you can give me your opinion. What do you think? Like, just the whole fact that I think anti-abortions was set up for, like, prostitution to be curbed, or, making it women safe by not being able to have one because there's a lack of medical technology.
I think that we're going to go back to back alley coat hanger places, and a lot of women are going to die or be very badly scarred for life.
And not able to have children at all.
When a woman is desperate, I don't care what the law is, she'll find a way.
Yeah.
And I've read some really sad stories lately about girls, 14-year-old girls that died because they were so desperate, and the desperation drove them to really bad things that ended up costing both their lives and the babies as well.
Right.
I think that the laws should stay off of our bodies.
Yes.
At least until men have a law that they're not allowed to, I don't know, masturbate or something every Monday night.
I don't know.
You know, I mean, they're controlling us. So either they control men too, or they don't control anybody. You can't have it both ways.
Right.
And we need to get people out of office that have been in there forever and set term limits. And I really believe the term limits should be extended to include the Supreme Court. These lifetime appointments are so wrong. No, they should be voted in just like any other government position by the people, based on their records, not
that would be interesting.
How much money that they've been able to raise on their campaigns.
Yes. All right, so we're going to go back. So that was a stop at the moment. What do you think so far? These are the facts of what's happened, how it came from being a district court issue in Texas, Dallas, Texas County, and on to the Supreme Court. Now we're going to go back to the facts and relay the rest of what happened with this case. But to reiterate, if you're just coming, the Roe versus Wade 1973 Supreme Court ratification was first brought up in a 1970 court case in Dallas County, Texas, where Roe versus Wade, the Dallas, Texas attorney, district attorney, and the whole idea, the premises was to prove that the laws, the anti-abortion laws, were so vague they couldn't even be held up to any case studies or against the Supreme Court case studies to make them valid. So they were thrown out as invalid. Not thrown out, but they were deemed, yes, they're invalid. There's no way to make a case. And so because there's no way to make a case, Rose got a partial win, partial loss, validation that, yeah, these laws are too vague, but also not authorized to have a safe and legal abortion. So kind of a gray area, left to nothing. And so now we're going through the actual Roe versus Wade, and basically this is the actual Supreme Court document. So I'm going to go over, and once again, our task, of course, is to resolve the issues by constitutional measurement, free of emotion and of predilection. That's a very important line that, this is my opinion for a minute, that definitely got overlooked when Roe was thrown. And that's going to be another podcast, because there's tapes of some of the Supreme Court judges saying that Roe versus Wade was satisfied at the time and they were not going to challenge it. So these same judges are the ones that voted to overthrow it. So that's another interesting podcast. And when I get the sound working, people, we want to be able to take calls in as well. So this is like our starter podcast to get the ball rolling. And so we're going to go through the rest of this, and like I said, the only thing that was clear is the abortion attempted by medical device for the purpose of saving the life of the mother. And since Roe in Texas wasn't in danger of losing her life, she also could not get an abortion legally based on that fact. So this is what this, so she's basically suing on behalf of herself and all other women similarly situated, whether married or single, that would like to have an abortion safe and legal, and based on the 9th Amendment that says that all other rights that are not in the Bill of Rights are defaulted private personal rights, fundamental rights, if you will. And then, of course, the doctor tagging along, trying to get doctors' rights covered as well. And then I'm trying to find where I highlighted. The rest of this goes into each part. So it is a really good read. And if people want to do a podcast and more of this, we can. I wanted to mainly go over what the things were, and I had it marked. It's a lot of reading. Well, I'm looking for where I highlighted. What do you think about the fact, this statement? How does this strike you? On line 117, our task, of course, is to resolve the issue by constitutional measurement, free of emotion and predilection. What do you think about that?
That's the way it should be. No matter what the court case is, judges are supposed to be fair and impartial. They're not supposed to allow their emotions or their own personal beliefs to decide any case. The cases are supposed to be decided based on law and based on what was decided on the same issue in the past and what's considered a legal finding and what's considered to be fair and just.
Right, absolutely. And here's another part I outlined. It's the Supreme Court states the Constitution does not explicitly mention any right of privacy. In a line of decisions, however, going back perhaps as far as the Union Pacific versus Botsford in 1891, the court has recognized that a right of personal privacy or a guarantee of certain areas or zones of privacy does exist under the Constitution. And this also, I feel, is an important line. I mean, they really, this is just so complete as really justifying Roe versus Wade becoming ratified into the Constitution. I mean, right here, they specifically talk about the right of privacy. And we're going to see when we study the Roe being overturned, I'm going to point out, I'm going to bring up this 1973 document against the 2022 document because they have to answer to each part. That's why they have all the paragraphs and sections highlighted, as you'll notice on the side here. So here's a couple of things we see the difference in the Supreme Court justices then and now. And, they were conservative too. Back in 1973 in Roe versus Wade, what have we seen so far? We've seen the justices go out of the way to write that they're keeping their personal opinions and feelings out of it and going by case law. We see them making a point to say that there's not explicitly written what is personal privacy rights, but by a succession of cases that verify it, there's a guarantee of certain areas or zones of privacy that do exist under the Constitution. So it didn't have to be physically written private rights. All sorts of cases are proving that there's an area of privacy. You have anything to add to that, Miss Sheila?
No, I think that it's very clear.
Right.
And And I just can't understand how it got overturned based on how clear it was.
Right. And I'm going to bring that up. I want to put them together, next to each other. Like I said, folks, this is our first podcast doing the non-political talk about politics. So you'll have to let us get used to it and how to put it together and stuff. But you can see there's a lot of stuff written in here. So that will be an interesting podcast. But the important thing here is it's saying, that it is a privacy issue and you have a right to make that decision without being a criminal act, and that you have a right to safe and legal abortion with proper medical care. To summarize and to repeat, this part is talking about the fact that it would be first trimester or early abortion, that Texas only clearly identifies a life-saving procedure, without regard to pregnancy stage and without recognition of other interests involved, is violative of the Due Process Clause of the 14th Amendment. So they're coming right out and saying, so this is pro-Roe here, that it doesn't make sense. And for the stage prior to approximately the end of the first trimester, the abortion decision and its effectuation must be left to the medical judgment of the pregnant woman's attending physician. For the stages subsequent to approximately the end of the first trimester, the state, in promoting its interest in health of the mother, may, if it chooses, regulate the abortion procedures. So what we're seeing now is not only do they say that there's an area of privacy, they're making their decisions on previous cases, and the rule of law. They're also here clearly defining what they feel is covered by this Roe versus Wade ratification to the Constitution, that it will really cover early abortions, and then states can make their own personal decisions after the first trimester of what they consider safe and legal. And then they list some other case. And then finally, the total conclusion, it was Article 1196 as the Texas law is unconstitutional, that the Texas abortion statutes as a unit must fall. So they basically say those suck. They need new ones, that the only thing they're clear on is that the abortion is allowed if the mother is in peril. And although the district court granted appellant Roe declaratory relief, it stopped short of issuing an injunction against enforcement of the Texas statutes, which basically, like I said earlier, kind of opened the way for it to have justification to be brought up to the Supreme Court. It's kind of like Texas didn't want to deal with their laws too, and felt it was more of a federal level, because it would affect a lot of states that have all different levels, and maybe they just didn't want to deal with going through all of their laws, but they threw it to the Supreme Court. And that's an issue in itself. We're going to talk about what codification is, or codification, that would make it not part of the Constitution, but actually federal law. When you look at federal law, the way it works is the federal government will pass a law. And Sheila, you and I have talked about this before. For example, say the federal government passes a new law stating that minimum wage is $13 an hour. And say Massachusetts says, I want to do $15 an hour. Since it's a better benefit than the federal law, that's okay. But say another state, Utah wants to do $13 an hour. That is not allowed because it's less than the benefit of the federal law. So states work off the federal law in the sense that they have to have the same benefit as the federal law or better. And what this would mean with Roe versus Wade, since a lot of people are focused initially, it's on the first trimester, where it's safe for the mother, the most safest time, and when it is not, it's not an external viable life form that could exist on its own. So therefore you have to look at the picture here. You got a fully grown woman and you've got embryo to fetus state, and the rights are clearly different, if any rights. I mean, if something cannot guarantee to be viable, there has to be a look at the law and how that works. You know, the woman really is here, living, voting, breathing human being, and needs to have the proper rights to protect herself. And once again, looking at the Ninth Amendment, if it's not clearly defined, it's already understood that there is private personal rights. So if they had a federal law, then that would mean if the federal law said that the first trimester abortion is required to be safe and legal with proper medical care and attention, the states would have to at least do that. And then the states can decide whether or not, you know, late-term pregnancies, whether it's legal or not, and that sort of nature. So it's kind of a compromise. It's kind of like, okay, this part here, it's an embryo, and it talks about it in this up here, what they consider the embryo. They can compromise on that, and then the states can deal with late-term pregnancy, which is also not safe for the mother. And going to my own personal opinion again, I think at that point, you know, we need a better system of adoption, where people can adopt children. I mean, some of the loopholes that you have, not loopholes, but the hoops you have to jump through to adopt a child when you are a good parent candidate is insane. And I haven't heard anyone say anything positive about the adoption experience.
It's ridiculously expensive. So even if you were like a middle class parent, most of them probably couldn't afford to adopt a child. You know, it's just too much. I think that's ridiculous. These children need homes, and money shouldn't be the deciding factor on whether or not they get a good home.
Right. Because a lot of people can afford to raise the child, but that initial, you know, outcome with no support, no major even tax benefit or anything. I mean, there's just so many people that would love to have a child and raise that child. You know, there's a lot of options. It doesn't have to be cut and dried, you know. I even think to take it further, if you don't want to have an abortion, why don't we have some kind of program where you are connected with the family? It's sort of like surrogate, but you're not a surrogate. You know, a lot of these anti-abortion people, as you know, don't have any solution what to do when the baby's born. And it's unwanted, basically. It's a harsh word, but that's the truth. And if it was aborted before it was a viable living being, you know, however you feel about that, once again, I don't want to get into the nitty-gritty fighting back and forth about it, but what constitutes, you know, having the same rights as a full-grown woman, I'll say on the outside of the womb, versus some cells that are growing and eventually developing into a baby on the inside of the womb, you know? And I think we need to address that too. That's what's also not being addressed in any of this. So let's see what else. The conclusion: we find it unnecessary to decide whether the district court erred in withholding injunctive relief, for we assume the Texas prosecutorial authorities will give full credence to this decision, meaning the Supreme Court decision, that the present criminal abortion statutes of the state are unconstitutional. The judgment of the district court as to inventor Halford is reversed, and Dr. Halford's complaints and intervention is dismissed. So basically, it's kind of like we were saying, they threw it up to the Supreme Court, and the Supreme, excuse me, still just getting used to this. It's a lot of talking. Yeah, we're going to whip this up, Cheryl, right, Sheila. We're going to get people calling in and stuff, so I'm going to get the phone lines working, so I don't have to do all this talking. But once again, they addressed everything. They even addressed it to let Texas know that, yes, we're letting you know your laws are unconstitutional, so go ahead and fix it. We're not going to fix it for you. And like I said, they threw the doctors out because he was basically trying to go on the coattails with Roe on Roe versus Wade, when really it's two separate issues. You've got the doctors and their issues of what they're doing and being protected, and then you've got the patient, you know. So let me see, and then the rest of these are the different justices' opinions and things of that nature. So I think I'm going to have Sheila give another input opinion, and like I said, we will be getting phone lines working for our next podcast because we really want this to be interactive, but we also really wanted to get it going, and I am learning open broadcast software. So we're getting there, and you can leave your comments on Facebook. We'll be going through them, and if there's other podcasts you'd like to see, you know, this is going to be followed up with the Roe versus Wade overturned. And I also want to say for this, I put up a Bill of Rights, and I'm going to post it on the web page. So the Bill of Rights, really quickly, talks about when it was, you know, ratified and everything. And these are the articles that became the Bill of Rights. And some of these are interesting. There are 12 articles that became 10 Constitution, oh my gosh, amendments. I'm sorry, it's a lot of talking. So the first one, after the first enumeration, one representative for every 30,000. So the first Bill of Rights talks about how people will be represented in Congress. As you know, this is interesting because they've redistricted, and now we have gerrymandering and everything else. Sheila, do you think that they understood what gerrymandering would be back then?
I really don't know.
Yeah, I don't think they had a clue. The second article is senators and representatives don't get raises until there's an election of representatives to intervene and take a look at it. Third article, Congress shall make no law respecting an establishment of religion or prohibiting the free exercise thereof or abridging the freedom of speech or of the press or the right of the people peaceably to assemble and to petition the government for a redress of grievances. That's an important one because that's basically separating the church and state, allowing freedom of speech, and that people are allowed to protest. And then, of course, Article 4 becomes the Second Amendment, a well-regulated militia being necessary to the security of a free state, the right of the people to keep and bear arms shall not be infringed. So I should probably go down to the actual amendments. And here they are. And I'm just doing a quick over-briefing of this because I do want to end with the one article of God is pro-choice by a Christian minister, John Pavlovic, and I think it's a great article, and it's one thing to think about, which I want to bring up again in the podcast where we look at the 2022 Roe versus Wade overturn, because that's a hot topic. We got close to 360 responses on that. A lot of people but the mudslinging I took out. Like I said, we were trying to be people talking about issues and respecting each other's opinions. And, you know, you don't know what you're going to learn from somebody, what they say. It might be something that resonates with you and you didn't even know it. So it's all about being cool, talking with each other, and just making sure we understand things so that when we go and vote, we know what we're voting about. So Amendment 2, you know what's interesting about Amendment 2, not to get way into it, but a well-regulated militia being necessary to the security of a free state, the right of the people to keep and bear arms shall not be infringed. This actually is talking about keeping a militia together, and that's why people need to bear arms. So a lot of people are saying that their Second Amendments are being infringed upon when we have gun control. But number one, we don't need AK-47s, automatic rifles, in public. And this really states, I mean, I don't know, Sheila, what do you think? This kind of really looks like it's really talking about people can have arms so they can put a militia together, like they did for the...
That was written, you got to remember and put this back into perspective. That was written by our founding fathers in the late 1700s, early 1800s?
Yes.
And when you put it into perspective of back then, they had to protect themselves from the British, from some of the Native Americans were fighting with them.
Yep.
From wild animals, because back then there were wild animals.
Right.
And also for hunting, for feeding their family, because back then they didn't have grocery stores.
Yeah, they really didn't. And I think it's clear here to me that it's really referring back that those would be kind of the givens that, once again, like you're saying, are in the 9th Amendment, that this is talking about for militia, but it means for every other private reason why people need to have guns. But it clearly doesn't state, you know, not that they had those kind of guns, but there's nothing in here that would say that, you know, AK-47s. I think that could be easily banned, you know, like don't ban the guns, but ban the war level, military level, high speed automatic rifles from everyday civil public consumption.
Right. The military should have the military weapons. Exactly. And a lot of my friends will be quick to say, well, public doesn't have AK-47s, they have these other things. Well, you know what? They still have high-powered guns that look like AK-47s.
Right, and I say that because it's the popular name. Any military level issue, you know, whether it's...
anything that looks like it.
There's handguns that can pop off a whole bunch of bullets at once. We don't need any of that. And like you're saying, we're not out hunting and stuff, and in today's society, there's no reason to have those kind of guns. And even back then, if they had them, they wouldn't want them around the regular...
and you wouldn't use an AK-47 to go hunting Bambi.
Exactly. Poor Bambi would be like...
No, Bambi, there would be nothing to eat because he'd be splattered everywhere.
Here's a funny one. Amendment 3. No soldier shall in time of peace be quartered in any house without consent of the owner. So there you go.
That's because they didn't have military barracks back then. They had to crash at people's houses.
Yeah, and they even did that in the Civil War. Amendment 4. Yep. So these are all like rights. People being secure in their house. Crime. This would be a good one to go through once. So a lot of it's about security in your house. No person should be held to answer for capital or otherwise infamous crime unless on a presentment or indictment of a grand jury, except in cases arising in the land or naval forces or in the militia, When in actual service in time of war or public danger, nor shall any person be subject for the same offense to be but twice put in jeopardy of life or limb. So this is interesting. This is the double jeopardy clause. That was a good movie with Naomi Judd, by the way. Double jeopardy, you know, like if you've been convicted or you've been tried for murder, you can't be tried again. So this is pretty interesting. So we got a few minutes. I can't believe I talked this much. And here we go. The 9th Amendment, the enumeration of the Constitution of certain rights shall not be construed to deny or disparage others, as in other rights retained by the people. So there you go, folks. This wraps it up for today's podcast. And just to talk a little more, now watch this, Sheila. I can make you go bigger, and I can go bigger. See how gorgeous we are? Yep. Whoops. Wait. Yeah. Let me move you over here. Here you are. Oh, wait. What did I do? We got to get you one of these lights too. So there's my thing looking straight. And you'll notice, Sheila. What do you notice about me tonight?
I can't really see it because...
Okay, never mind. I wore makeup. I'm not doing an ad because I'm not getting paid for it, but I got that Lady Gaga House Labs makeup. So you can tell I have some pink here, some blue, and lipstick. And the reason I bought it is because she advertises women in their 60s and 70s looking absolutely fabulous, natural, no... plastic surgery or anything, because it is natural. I mean, having some lines is natural. I mean, I'm 59 years old. If I didn't have, it's okay to have lines and stuff. And that's part of our push, too, is women feeling confident enough to just be happy with your lines. I mean, my mom died at 42. So let me tell you something, folks. For every day I live and get a little bit of a line, it's a celebration. And lately I'm into apple pie, but I'm a diabetic, so I can't really eat a lot of it. But anyways, and this is Sheila, and this was our first non-political political podcast. And we're going to be doing more. Give us a chance to get used to the software. At least I got it working today, right? So
that's right. You got something there.
And to let you know, our next podcast is going to be comparing the current Roe versus Wade overthrown, unratification, against the 1973 one. Whereas I pointed out 1973 was really firm about pointing out that they're not based on personal decisions, pointing out what they feel early trimester abortion would be covered by law for safe and legal abortion, pointing out the Texas law, why it doesn't work, just everything. So every point they have, there should technically, hypothetically be an answer rebuttal. Because I don't know, but I would say that I think the Supreme Court did a fine job in 1973. Once again, not whether I'm pro-choice or agree with them or disagree with them, or anti-choice, really, because it's either pro-choice or anti-choice, and then it's pro-abortion or anti-abortion, so it's about choice. I think that document clearly covered everything that needed to be covered for the case. I don't see why it would be overthrown, and we'll look at that next week too. So next week we're going to do that, and also to let you know, Toast and Jam is coming back. Our music videos where we review live bands, local venues, local bands, everybody. We're going to some concerts, and we're going to be broadcasting live while we walk around again. And this time, you know what, Sheila? We are going to interview people waiting to go see the bands.
Okay.
Yeah, we are. So anyways, thank you so much for joining us for our first political podcast, which is called Past, Present, and Voting. I'm Lisa Ann.
I'm Sheila.
And we'll see you again here next week. Okay,
night,
so
folks.
that's it. Good night. Now I don't know how to, so how do I stop?